Hello and welcome back to the Social Matters podcast. We are three social workers talking about social matters. Hi, I'm Eugene.
Hi, I'm Fran.
Hi, I'm Nadia.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Oh my God, my neck's hurting already. How do you cope here in the
I
middle?
don't cope, and I'm really pleased that we've switched it up.
Yeah, I think this is now seems like it's going to be our thing that we switch it up every episode because, after one of our previous episodes, the idea of you being in the middle. Now I'm feeling your pain. I was like, where do I look? I'm just going to look up there.
It's hard, isn't it?
Well, I've just been on it for like 50 seconds and already I'm feeling the pain. So, I guess it is hard.
It is hard.
It's hard with the neck, but it's also a different chair. You're like in a kind of upright, narrow one.
Do you know what I'm loving, Fran? Like you're just
I'm like,
just laid back.
But also, it does help with your posture, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm like, where do I put I'm going to put my feet on the table. I was like, no, take your ass, Eugene. How are we today?
Yeah, good. I have got a checking question
right in
for
there.
us. Yeah, right in. So obviously we've got a sick concert coming up that we are so excited. We're going to go see Bashi in a couple of days, and if we've just been so excited about it, and it just got me thinking. I was like, what is the best concert that I've ever been to? And I just wanted to ask you guys, what's the best concert that you've ever been to? And yeah. Oh, Franny, what's that?
this is hard because I feel like so many.
Right.
And then I've got like festivals in the mix and so many people I've seen. And right, I need a moment.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
I need a moment.
And
Have you got you straight up?
I know.
I've got, actually, no. Ooh. Okay. So for me, it's Adele before she became big.
Okay.
So I saw her at
Everyone's got that before the Adele.
No, but when she was at the Shepherd's Bush Empire, and it's really small, really intimate concert, intimate arena. So just her voice, as everyone knows, but the way her personality, the way she connected with the crowd, like that was a concert that just like moved me. And it was a couple of months before she performed at the Brits, and then when she performed at the Brits, that's why then every concert after that was a stadium concert, so you don't really get that same level of intimacy.
All my friends were like,
Oh.
when was this? Amazing.
That must have been maybe 2011, 2012, 2010.
Yeah.
But that album is one of my favorite albums because every song, banger after banger after banger after banger after banger after banger after banger.
Okay.
But it was just like, because I'm a fan, so like some albums or some concerts you listen to, like maybe 80% of the songs are great, and and you vibe to it 70%, 30%, like if you're at a festival or something. But when every song has got you on all levels, that was the one for me. That was the best.
Oh, that's so good. I like that one.
Yeah.
All right, Freddie, do you need some more time?
I don't think I've got one that stands out because I literally, my love of music. I've been to so many of these. I'm just going to list about 10.
Okay.
Is that all right? I know that stand out for me,
fine.
but you can go, babe, and then I'll just throw mine out there.
Okay, so for me, couple as well, I'll say number 2 was Beyonce. I've seen her a couple of times, but I went to see Beyonce. That was all kinds of like
Recent.
not the Renaissance one. Formation was and there was one before, can't remember, but yeah, Beyonce is up there. She's a performer and the visuals and everything amazing.
I want to hear who's number 1 then. Was Beyonce?
Bro, number 1, I was 16 or 17 years old, and I just hopped on a bus and went down the road to Mare Street, Hackney Central, and watched Sean Paul in
Sean Paul or Shonda Paul?
Shonda Paul,
Blue Cantrell.
No, my light blue velour tracksuit and my Alicia Keys braids and my beads in my hair. I thought I was so dope, and I went to see Sean Paul and he came to Mare Street, and it was like such a small little venue, and it was the best time ever, because it was like the first time I'd gone out. My mum was super strict, so like I was just allowed.
I love that the first time you went out, Shonda Paul.
Like,
straight out.
Sean Paul, pool, and I went with my friends and my sister, and we just had a grand old time.
Oh,
It
wow.
was so good. It was so good.
So was it the music or the time you had or
I think it was a converging of like stepping towards adulthood to, bashment. Obviously, I love a bashment. I love a good old dance up. I love a good old rave. It was in my ends, like it was at home. I was with my friends and with my sister, and it was just all of that came together. And Sean Paul he's the guy, man.
Oh,
Did
wow.
a great job.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
That jealous. Oh, I feel like even 10 isn't enough, but I'm just going to throw some out there.
Hit us.
Lauren Hill.
Oh, you've seen her live?
Yeah. Madonna.
Oh.
Beyonce.
Yeah, she did well.
And then some of my festival ones, because I think at the festival, like Chemical Brothers and Orbital do amazing light shows. So I think that's just like really, really good memories. Who else? So many. Stormzy was amazing. That was in London as well, and it was really nice with the home crowd. There's too many.
You know what? We won't have a chance in this episode, but we're gonna grill you on this, and then maybe by the time we come to a couple of episodes time, you have to narrow it down.
I'm not very good at making decisions.
Yeah.
Speak to my girlfriend. Just like, can I have 20, please? But, so many. But it's a great check-in because I think it's, I don't know, like we all love music. And I think it just takes you to a particular place. And some of them are like you enjoy because it's like the icon. Yeah. Others are just a whole sort of vibe. Sometimes a bit of a combo, like Sean Paul, I imagine, was both.
Yeah.
I remember when I went to see MIA, who, again, similarly before she like blew up and won the Mercury Music Prize, and it was like £2 a ticket in Manchester. Oh, wow. And then like a week later won that. So I think they're really nice where you're like, oh, I was kind of really close. And then like Beyonce for the like whole show as well. So it's so good. Yeah, it's such a lovely thing to kind of go and do. I remember years ago going to see Aswad, and I'm saying about Aswad because we were talking about Bashi sampling some of Aswad. But I remember seeing Aswad in Leeds when I was about 9. And I was like, yeah, come on, Aswad. Yeah, so many, but great check-in.
Yeah, let's see if Bashi makes it to our greatest list.
Oh, well,
go and see him.
We have to say that.
Just for listeners, when did we book the tickets? It felt like about 3 months, 4 months.
Maybe like 3-4 months. Shout out to Anna who booked us our tickets. Thank you, babe, for getting onto that. But probably like 3 months ago.
It was the day they were released.
Yeah.
On it.
Yeah.
On it.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting around music because I think Bashi, part of it is connected with great music. The album is so good, but also nostalgia, and it was making me think about how relationship with music changes over time because of age as you get older, which is thanks.
Unlike you did this segue.
Just middle seat giving me energy.
I could see him thinking I need to bring it back because we're just going to talk about our favourite.
No, I just had that segue in my head. So yes, today we're going to be talking about age and ageism, and thinking about it in different contexts and contexts of the workplace. But as always, we want to start off with a definition, so I'm going to get up.
As always.
There's not enough space
in my hand.
There's not enough space in this chair, but normally my phone's down. So this is a definition that was provided by the World Health Organization. And when they are defining what is ageism, they say ageism refers to the stereotypes, how we think, prejudice, how we feel, and discrimination, how we act towards others or oneself based on age. So I guess the first question is thinking about this episode, age and ageism. What comes up for you? What kind of ideas or thoughts does that kind of term generate when we're thinking about ageism?
Do you know what? I think when I first hear the word ageism, what comes up for me is initially sort of discrimination against older people or elderly people, whereas actually younger people can experience ageism, and it's like across the whole, spectrum of age. So yeah, I was just thinking ageism, how it makes me think about how we're not so kind of inclusive of older people, or, the care in Western cultures that we kind of provide for older people, and, how older people are in the workplace, treated in the workplace and stuff. But actually giving it deeper thought, it's not just that end of the spectrum. It's the whole spectrum. So yeah, were you thinking the same?
I had the same as well, but I also think, we've spoken about the social graces on this podcast previously, thinking about markers of identity and difference. And although our relationship with different social graces changed over time, I think age is one that, it does. We are all growing older. And I think it makes me think about my relationship with age. And we talk about like a social grace might be more foregrounded, thinking about how that like influences how you live. And then one might be more backgrounded and, sometimes refer to it as a blind spot. And it really highlights that for age, because now I'm in my 40s, I'm thinking about it a lot more. Whereas when I was, in my 20s and 30s, I wasn't thinking about age as a social grace. So it really is highlighted the understanding and meaning of a blind spot, because I don't think I was. I was like, yeah, living my life. And now I do. And I think that's twofold. I think it's one, thinking about my own relationship with age and aging, and, that idea of feeling like unseen and heading into that. And the impact of that on the workplace. Like, I mean, I'm not good with tech anyway. You two are like, yes, confirmed. But you feel it. Like, I feel like, oh gosh, like I can't keep up. I don't know what I'm doing. And then the other flip is like aging family and parents. So I'm really mindful of like my age at the moment. And I think it's probably my algorithms and also what I'm looking for. But we are just like, well, I am like, so many anti-aging kind of products, and even that in itself, the message anti-aging, anti-aging cream, anti whoever, and it's like so many antis. But it is like thinking the societal, or certainly the Western view of growing older is generally, or certainly the dominant narrative is that it's not a good thing, and you must do everything you can to hide it. Put some cream on, have some Botox, have a facelift, and dye your hair.
Yeah. But also just on that idea of age and how it's kind of perceived, when I think about ageism and the social graces, is how it's perceived when it intersects with different social graces. So I'm thinking about appearance, I'm thinking about gender, and we were just getting lift up here, and I was noticing the greys in my hair, and then you mentioned silver fox, and I think for some
I love what you mentioned. Silver fox.
It's just greys dotted around. But I think, and sometimes with men and aging, it can be seen in a kind of positive way, like that idea of kind of silver fox, but it being different for women. And also thinking about appearance, like how you are appearing, the way you dress, the way you kind of carry yourself and things like that. It's like society will receive you in a slightly different way, and receive your age in a different way. And I think that all kind of contributes to how people show up, how people are discriminated against, and how people feel about their age in different contexts. So it's when you were talking about social graces, I was like, yes, because where age intersects with other social graces means that people have a different experience of oppression when it comes to ageism.
I was thinking about what you were saying about in the Western world of like aging and all the anti-aging products and whatever. And I remember kind of seeing Afua Her. She's written a book called Decolonizing My Body, and kind of really looking into the sort of practices and rituals that are kind of encouraged in Western society, but it's not actually, universally present. And she kind of talks about how it's in like Western society that aging is kind of feared, and let's have all of these products, and there's a whole industry that survives on people wanting to stay young. But in other cultures, actually aging is revered and respected, and there's so much kind of importance placed on aging in a way that like in Western society it isn't. So I think that I want to take a really deep dive into it, because I've only heard her kind of speaking on it, but to actually read it, I think it would be so powerful of, what are the kind of afterlife of colonization, and how we kind of view our bodies and how we view things like aging. But yeah, when I heard her speaking on that, I was like, that's so true. Yeah. Like, it's so true. Why is it that we're so scared of the grey hairs or the wrinkles or whatever in Western society? Really fascinating stuff.
it's so fascinating and so true, because I think there's lots of contradictions, isn't there, between, like often, respect your elders or have that, but in reality I don't think that always shows out. I think of course it does, like I'm not saying it's completely binary, but I think thinking about it in the field that we work in diversity, equity, inclusion and the belonging, I do think in the workplace it can show up where people are marginalised or excluded or seen as less capable or less, kind of slower things associated with ageing. So I think, on one hand, there's this message of like respect elders, but I think in reality, behaviourally and societal messages are like, you're unseen and it's not great. And I'm genuinely having to fight it myself of like, I am in my 40s and that's okay. Why do I keep thinking, oh my gosh, I want to look young. Like, we should be okay with going, yeah, this is my age, and that's all right.
Yeah, and I think we on that point, I think we all end up being products of a kind of system that is constructed to alienate or discriminate. Because going back to the point you made at the beginning around the spectrum, is that older people and younger people, for example, can be discriminated or marginalised or pushed out in the workplace in different ways. Is that for the new Gen Zs or young people, people may say, oh, they're not experienced enough, or they're snowflakes, or they think too much about their mental health or their identity. And older people is that, oh, you don't fit in the workplace, you can't keep up with technology, blah, blah, blah. So it's almost like we end up in the workplace and in society having messages that are thrown at us, telling us that we're just out of reach of what we're meant to be, of the idea. So it's that idea of like, I think we end up being a product of our society. So we all end up being affected in one way or the other, conforming to a greater degree or less degree, or being radical in some situations and challenging the kind of status quo and saying, for want of a better term, middle finger to that. Let me be happy with my age regardless. Let me look at age as a real strength and also appreciation, because like really not everyone makes it to 40. Not everyone makes it to an older age. So yeah, it's really bringing up new, like different things for me. So yeah, just thinking about society, that comment on society, the question I had is how do you think society's perceptions of age impact our personal identity and self-worth as we grow older? And it says as we grow older, but maybe also regardless of your age, like how do you think society's perception of age impact our identity and self-worth?
I think, again, I think it comes back to which society are you growing up in. So, is it a Western society that kind of, almost like devalues as you get older in some ways, or kind of, the messaging of, what you can and can't, or what you should or should not be doing or wearing, or, I think it depends on the society that you're in. And I think it's so kind of important to be really switched on, I guess, to the messages maybe that you're receiving from society, the people that you're around, media, all the rest of it, to kind of challenge, is this something that I want to thicken, I want to buy into, I want to kind of strengthen? Is this narrative something that's helpful, or do I want to think about doing something different? Do I want to, and that's that sounds very easy, but to kind of, it sounds like it's like an easy thing to do, but these messages can be really powerful. Yeah. And like you mentioned algorithms, like, the capitalism is so good at sucking you in and being like, oh my days, that wrinkle cream got rid of that woman's wrinkles in 4 seconds. I need to buy it right now. It's so seductive. Yeah. So powerful. So yeah, I suppose it depends which society you're in. If you travel and go to other places and see how other, societies manage or work with age, then you might have some different messages and different narratives.
Yeah, I love the narrative idea, because it is exactly that. Like there's a skin company, cream product company. Hang on, what do they call? There's a skincare company that I follow, and their sort of tagline is "Age without apology," and they talk a lot about we need to challenge the narrative. And I think that is about what people see. So I think seeing people just kind of grow old and that's okay and not have to kind of do anything about it or have grey hair or different things. And it's hard because I think with any of these beauty standards, I think it is also important to have choice. You know, I think it is, if people do want to do that, that's sort of all right as well. But I think it's because it's so strong with the anti-aging that it really is like, it sucks you in and makes it feel bad. And I think I've said to you before, like I've done loads of traveling with my mum, and often when we've been to countries, they're like, oh my God, sisters. And you know, and you're like, oh, okay, so right. So like one of us is not looking good there. And I think it is that thing of like, you know, you're like flattered, like, oh my God, whereas actually imagine if, and this isn't a slight on my mum, I'm talking about in general, imagine if that thing where when someone says it like, oh my God, you look 50, you go, excuse me, I'm actually 70. You know what I mean? Get insulted the other way. Excuse me, don't insult me, I'm 70, I'm not 50. But that, like, it seems so bizarre to think that way, but we almost should be like, excuse me, babe, I'm actually this age. And it's like, we're so like, we almost do it, don't we? We're all sucked into going, oh, guess how old? Yeah. And it's like, we should be, no, but do you know what I mean? Like, we really need to be kind of going, yeah, this is my age and it's all right.
It's so interesting because when I was 18, 19 and I only could grow like 2 hairs out of my head, it just ain't even all that. But then when people think I'm younger, people think I'm 15 or 16, then I had that feeling like, no, I'm actually 21 and a half.
Yeah, because of discrimination, the other way around is that. It's like, oh, you're too young, or you can't do this, or you can't possibly know that.
Yeah. So how that changes with time, and there's like the ends of the spectrum, like either young or older, you have those kind of extreme, different responses, but ones that may be more extreme. But then in the middle is like, where do I stand or where do I sit? So you're going to say something?
Yeah, I was thinking about, I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and their like manager is quite young, and the almost like discrimination of like, how is somebody that age in that position? Like it's so like it's wrong in some ways, but actually if they're a boss at their job and you know they've got the thinking and the mind and the skills and the ability, then why is it such a a terrible thing?
100%. And it was making me think about the recent workshop we did looking at Gen Zs in the workplace, and thinking about how employers can make a more inclusive environment and a sense of belonging for Gen Zs in the workplace, so it becomes comfortable to them and they can thrive. Because I think we're almost in, and it's just being very general about work environments, it's like we're dealing with, well, the currency is old money, so this is how we've always been, this is the old money, whereas there's so much that new generations of people, younger people, can bring into the work environment to add and giving them the potential to be their maximum self and thrive. But if they're coming in with new money and the currency that organizations are using is old money, then how does that help them to fit in and adapt? So the shifting culture, the people in power, it's almost like, okay, we need to shift our culture to make it more inclusive, to allow people to feel that sense of belonging, so that we don't have the narratives just because you've been an adult for 7 years or 5 years that you don't have the ability to manage, you don't have the ability to support. Because I in previous roles working with younger people, Gen Zs, like some of them, and it's
I'm here for them.
Yeah.
But it's the same with regard to age. People are remarkable. They have so much skills. They have so much talent. They have so much insight. And Gen Z's been here for them. I think the openness, the desire to demand things and speak openly about their mental health and identity is something that I think older generations can really learn from. As somebody who's a millennial, I appreciate that and learn from them.
Definitely. I think, talking of ageism, it fits into any bracket of discrimination and oppression, and like the cycle of oppression, which starts with that fear of difference, doesn't it? And stereotypes. I think at the Gen Z end, it's like, who are these new upstarts coming in? Who do they think they are? But it's difference, isn't it? And people fear it. Same as at the other end, it's like, oh, you're deviating from the norm or normalcy, whatever that is, and not fitting into that bracket in the middle. That's like the kind of dominant narrative of the kind of ideal, whether it's idealism of beauty or like professionalism, etc. And then that leads to that stereotype, that leads to, you know, this prejudice, discrimination, and that oppression at both ends of the spectrum. And it's a massive, massive, massive thing. And I'm so pleased we're having this conversation today. So I think, you know, it's what we do and we think about in our work, but it is a reality. And I'm just thinking about like how it shows up in workplaces and ideas for what people can do to kind of challenge their own thinking or awareness about it. Because I think it's something we think about, but admittedly has been a blind spot at different times. Yeah, I was just thinking about like what sort of thoughts or advice for people to kind of, I guess, expand thinking in that area, because I think it affects all of us.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I was nodding along. I always nod along to everything that you both say. But I think...
You are like that nodding dog at a car in the middle.
All right. But I think it's about having and starting a conversation, because just as you were speaking, I was like, when have I ever had that or heard that conversation in the workplace? I've heard it in jest, either around, I didn't know you don't look 40, or you're too young, and like people have used it as a way of kind of joking or making a comment, all being behind people's back offensive to that manager who is younger. But I've never heard like a constructive conversation, a little bit like we're having now, because when we talk about our podcast being conversation starters, about what does, when we talk about ageism in the workplace, what does that bring up for you? What does that look like for you? And I'm imagining if we have in the workplace, because it does happen. So you could be in a meeting and you could have 4 or 5 different generations, and age or ideas of age, our experience of age will frame the lens in which we view information, we see the world. So for example, there's this task, we need everyone to complete this Excel sheet by tomorrow. For this being very stereotypical, for different generations, their lens of age will feel, okay, how do I feel towards this activity? So sitting down and having a conversation and starting that conversation makes it relatively normal. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, I think in terms of advice, I think the thing of always coming back to that kind of self-reflection and like introspection of, you know, what is it about that situation, scenario that I'm viewing it in this way, and what is it about my experiences that mean I think this is the way it has to be done. And, you know, in work context, it can be really difficult to carve out that time to have that self-reflection and introspection. But I do think it's important in order to make sure that you're not kind of creating situations or contexts where it's beefy. I can't think of a, you know.
No, beefy is the word I'd use.
Yeah. You know, it's how can we just kind of come together and be like, okay, what's your viewpoint? What's your viewpoint? What's my viewpoint? And how can we kind of, you know, get the best of all the viewpoints to make the thing work? So I do think to not be so dismissive of, you know, either way of other people's positions and think that you hold the right way. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
I love that. And beefy, I love that. Beefy. But I think there's something about, we know from our work that like diversity leads to more creativity, more innovation, more productivity, and thinking about an invitation for people in the workplace to look around at their team and think like, are they all the same age? What can I do to kind of challenge that? And an example I have recently is my friend who has their own business, took on their dad, who's in the 70s, as the financial director, because has had 50-year, you know, experience in that field. And actually, why not bring that experience? But again, you know, when you first see that, you can almost be patronising, like, oh, isn't that great? They took on, and actually, what a knowledge and brilliance. And I think challenging that idea that you get to a certain age and you know you should stop working, because even that, some argue that's like ageist, because you're kind of going, right, you're 65, you should stop working now. And actually, if you want to work till you're 90, why not? So I think there's something in that, like look at hiring practices, challenge, you know, is everybody the same age? What can you do to bring in older, younger, and kind of diversity of kind of ages is so important, will be my thinking as well. Because I think we can all narrow that lens, like you said, and just maybe be thinking about one particular age.
Yeah. Lovely. I like that. What a beautiful way to end. Also, my neck is really sore. Been looking left and right.
All right, ageism.
Sitting in the middle and neck cramp. But yeah, thank you, team. Good conversation. We have been Free Social Workers talking about social matters. You can find us on all social media platforms at Matters Podcast. We're also available on YouTube. Do subscribe. Do follow us and do continue the conversation. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.